Today I'm going to show you how to actually trade Forex currency pairs. And anybody can show you how to trade, but I'm going to show you how to do it in a way that actually gets consistent profit. Whether you're a total beginner in trading or whether you've been involved for many years, this video will help you to have the most amazing breakthrough that you've ever had regarding how to trade Forex. So let's get started now. It never ceases to amaze me how every day there's a whole new crop of people who somehow discover the idea of trading and think that this will be a good thing for them to do as a business. A business to earn income from profit that a trader gets by making trading decisions to determine the right time to enter so that the market moves in the direction of profit when they enter. And what is even more amazing is the number of people who have been trading for many years and were never able to get consistent profit. Everyone gets excited when they happen to win by chance, which is inevitable. If anybody trades, it's inevitable that they're going to get some profit just from the laws of chance. But why does it seem so difficult to avoid the flip side of that double-edged sword of chance that leads to the inevitable loss of all the profit that the traders have made, whether through skill or whether by chance? The main challenge is in the way that this business is approached and the mindset of how people look at trading with unrealistic expectations about what is required for the mastery of trading. Is there a simple process or method to do some kind of a logical step-by-step repeatable strategy that when you do this, you will get profit most of the time? Why is it that the world's greatest experts in trading have spent years developing all kinds of formulas and theories to determine when people should enter trades to get profit? And still people are baffled. People who seem to be intelligent and educated end up scratching their heads in confusion and then later end up pounding their fists on their computers in utter frustration, proclaiming that the market is random chaos and no one can get consistent profit. Well, even though I can tell you definitely that these people have missed something important, I can't understand how it's easy to come to that conclusion. If you haven't discovered the right way to read financial markets and the additional steps to discovering order and pattern in the chaos, so that's what I'm going to show you right now. Now, I have mentioned and demonstrated before that the biggest pitfall in the trading industry is all the ridiculous products that are being sold, and they're designed to be what people want, which is software and flashy indicators and lights and robots and all these different things. And those are not the things that would enable you to get profit in trading. Getting profit in trading would be from you looking at a chart and being able to read it and then being able to understand when you would get in and when you would get out. So at some point, you may discover that it is a scientific, observable truth that financial markets do form according to known patterns. When you look at a chart, your sight should be drawn to the areas of impulsive price action, areas of corrective price action. As soon as you realize that this is true and the nature of market behavior is a continual repetition of these two cycles, then you will begin to understand the true nature of the market through pattern recognition. Now, the problem is that most people can recognize certain patterns when they are selected and presented to them as illustrations or examples. But when looking at the market on their own, there seems to be more chaos than patterns and more uncertainty regarding what is the market doing now and what would the next trade be. So if I show an example of market behavior and demonstrate a truth about market pattern recognition, many people might think that I've heard that before. If so, some people would make an assumption that they already know this and therefore shut down the ability to learn anything new. And the problem is, there are additional steps that are required to master this knowledge. There's a reason why if you look at a chart, you will see patterns in certain places, and in other places you don't really see it. So if you've heard of something before and you were not able to make it work, does that mean that there's nothing more for you to learn? Or does it mean kind of the opposite of that? There is something for you to learn. Have you heard people proclaim with some kind of diluted sense of ultimate authority that the market is random chaos and there's no way that anyone can consistently win in trading? Well, obviously, these are the words of someone who is desperately trying to protect themselves, desperately needs to justify their own failure as a type of simple ego defense mechanism. So that's why people say these things, because they believe that they're intelligent, and if they can't figure something out, then they're going to proclaim that no one can do it. So I'm going to reveal the next step, and just keep in mind that there's really no connection with these particular skills and these particular truths about the market and anyone's need to defend their ego. These things are not connected. In fact, learning this will definitely be a big benefit to your ego. It will benefit your self-esteem when you see that this is true, and you start winning more trades as a result of it. So I've heard people before who've said this, and I do understand. I feel sorry for them, but I'm still going to show you how this works. So in this video, let's just skip to the point where you have already learned some of the basic guidelines to known patterns and wave subdivisions. You will see that these patterns do appear in certain places on some charts, but overall you feel like you kind of have to search to find them, or to find one piece that appears to have a pattern, while much of the rest just appears to be confusing, distorted, or chaotic. And the reason for this is because there are additional steps to make sense out of this puzzle that appears on our charts. And these steps are things that perhaps shouldn't be revealed to the general public. But I'm just going to reveal it anyway, because I believe that we really don't have time to keep on wasting so much time on things that don't work. If you want to know what really works, this is how it works. So step one in the additional steps, why is it that we can see patterns in some places, but to use that as a trading method, it doesn't seem to be consistent because we can't see the patterns everywhere? Well, step one is to search for clarity. If you focus on what is not clear when you're looking at a chart, you're seeing some parts of it are clear, some parts of it are not clear. And if you're focusing on the part that's not clear, that's just going to cause more stress and confusion. So, using the law of attraction, just begin to focus on what is clear and search for that. It's like if you're putting together a jigsaw puzzle, the first thing that everyone does is they take the outside pieces because they have a straight line on them, and you can separate all those and end up putting together the entire outside part of a puzzle. And then you know that all the rest of the pieces go in somewhere in the center. So one way to search for clarity is to search among all the currency pairs. And this may seem overwhelming, but when you separate them into groups of pairs where you have all the pound pairs, all the euro pairs, all the dollar pairs, and so on. While you're analyzing these charts, you will be able to start to look at them side by side and search for clarity. And then you'll discover that some of these will always be clearer than others. So comparing correlated pairs brings new levels of insight by comparing patterns side by side or back and forth, or even displaying one pair overlaid on another. I have found that by doing this every day on all time frames, comparing all correlated pairs side by side, I will always get new levels of insight. That's one of the ways that I can see clarity and pattern more than just taking one random chart and searching for something on that chart that looks like a pattern. Now, the second important aspect is what I call adjusting the frequency. Carefully observing the clarity of the patterns while you adjust the time frames up and down. And this is why including time frames that are not considered standard time frames can suddenly give a higher level of clarity. Looking at the 2 hour, the 3 hour, the 6 hour, the 8 hour is critical, the 12 hour, and even on the shorter time frames that are not standard. Traders who have never done this will discover that they basically have never been able to see any clarity because they haven't done this. And therefore they couldn't see the hidden clarity. So as I have mentioned and demonstrated in many countless other videos that I made, the way to trade Forex is to identify the end of a correction and to be able to identify the end of a trend. And this is one of the ways that I'm able to do this while other people can't see it. So to be clear, the way to trade Forex is to identify the end of a correction and to identify the end of a trend and to be able to read financial markets and see that the market does form these things. Now, these two steps, along with being guided to recognize known patterns and being familiar with the known patterns in financial markets, sometimes referred to as Elliott wave patterns. But if someone hates Elliott wave, or if they use a different term to describe what the market is doing, the market will still make the same patterns. The terms used to describe these patterns do not change the patterns. Either you see the patterns or you don't. You might use Elliott wave terminology or you might not, but it's not going to change the patterns that financial markets are making every day and every decade. In the longer term time frames, they're still making these same patterns. Either you choose to see them or you don't. And no level of delusional denial will ever change these patterns that the market is forming every day. If you look at a chart and claim that the market didn't form what's on that chart, everyone can realize how ridiculous that is, because it did form those things. And that's what reading the market is all about, is that you can see the market and you can read it. And once you learn to read it, you will see that these patterns and these signs and these phenomena, they're happening all the time and they never stop happening. So as always, trading requires study and practice. But for those who have already studied and already practiced and are not getting the results that they want, this is the reason. If you want to find out more about what really works in trading, just go to tradingmastermind.com and put your name and email in the pop-up that you'll see there. Now, I have made a whole series of videos about this topic that goes into more detail about how you can do this. And I also demonstrate this in real time on actual charts while actually trading every day. So you can watch the next video about this topic right over here.